Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this episode of Cheap Air's Off-Grid Ways Homestead in the Desert. And today is the last day of February, February 28th, 2021. You remember the old joke? How many months have 28 days? Well, all of them do, right? Yeah. Hey, what comes at the end of February? The Y. Oh my God. All right, anyway. So here we are down at the chicken coop. And why? Because today I'm going to do a little episode for one of my new subscribers who is about to build a chicken coop. And I want to do a little do's and don'ts, what I learned when I built my coop, and try to help her out a little bit so that she doesn't make some of the same mistakes I made in the beginning. And sometimes you just overthink things. Well, you can see what the brown boards are, okay? Now, originally, this bottom of this was open. It was just chicken wire on there. And the chickens could go under the coop and shade themselves during the day. Well, that's all well and good, except I got to work to clean out and get stuff out of it, put stuff in and get stuff out of the coop through a flap here. So I had to open the flap up and lean inside. What a pain in the neck. So if you're going to do it, do a walk-in door, okay? Make sure there's a door on there big enough for you to be able to walk right in. And another reason that is a good idea to have a walk-in door and be able to walk into the coop is because you see where the darker wood is here? Well, originally there was a flap there and one on the other side too. And that was where I would open up the flap, which was on the back of the nesting boxes, and I would get eggs out by reaching in and pulling them out. Well, I never had very good production, and found out that the reason was that one of the reasons was that I opened it one time, and two of the hens actually, were in here getting ready to lay eggs. And I surprised them by taking the back wall away from them while they were in there. What I learned is chickens like their privacy. They don't like any way to access them from behind. So they like a solid barrier behind them. It makes them feel safer, and they'll be more productive. So don't make it so you open a flap to get to the back side of the hens, unless you're going to make sure that all your hens are out of the chicken coop before you open those flaps. It's still not a good idea. Just stay away from it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you can access your nesting boxes from the inside. Okay. All right, so one of the things that I did before was I made the nesting boxes too big. So that board right there is an add-on, and that board's an add-on. So I originally had these nesting boxes were 24 inches by 16 inches deep, or 18 inches deep. Too big. Proper size for a nesting box, 12 by 12 by 12 is plenty. Okay, so these are even a little bit deeper than what they should be. Also, make sure you put a threshold on the front side. Okay? That helps keep the nesting material inside of the nesting box. So I ended up splitting this from being 4 nesting boxes to being 8. Now this was an outside nesting box. Bad idea. Don't do outside nesting boxes. You want them to nest in the coop. Okay. And you want to put a roost higher than the nesting boxes, because the chickens like to get up high. They love to be up high and look down, kind of like cats. They're always looking for some place to get up high. So anyway, I got a couple more eggs I got to take out of here. I already took 2 out a little while ago. Looks like I got 2 more to take out. I know it looks like there's more than that, but Some of those are actually porcelain eggs. Good idea. Put a porcelain egg in each nest, and it promotes laying. It also will keep your chickens, because when they're younger, they might try pecking at an egg. And if they do, once they get into that habit, they'll break eggs all the time, and they'll eat them. They'll eat their own eggs. So what you want to do is put porcelain eggs in there, and if they go in there and try to peck at it, they realize they can't break it. So that goes in their mind that that shape they can't break, so they don't break any more eggs. Okay, so that's why you use those. So that's a good idea. So as you see, this side is the side that these 4 hens that I have use. They're always on this side. They don't go on the other side very much. And the roosters like to stay up high on the tops of these. Now the rooster will sit like right here, so he can look down and he can see the hens inside of the nests. And sometimes he'll move over there when he just wants his privacy too. So give him a good high roost inside of here. Make sure that you have it nice and secure so that critters can't get in. Okay, now because this used to be open underneath and they were able to get in here from the outside, I put a floor in here because it used to be just dirt and it needs to be cleaned out. But I put a ramp here, so if they decide they want to venture down into the bottom of this thing, they can. All right, so I keep layers crumbles. Layers crumbles, keep it for them all the time. It should always be available. They'll eat it when they want it, and they'll stop eating when they don't want it anymore. The other things like scratch, any type of scratches or cracked corn or anything like that, that's a treat to them. So you just give that to them once in a while. You don't make it readily available all the time. Although I do, because these girls have gotten used to it. And they go out in the morning, they fill themselves up. That's them out there. They go out and fill themselves up, and then they come in here at the afternoons and lay me eggs, which is a good thing. All right, so let me grab eggs while I'm in here. Nice eggs. Isn't that a nice egg? Look at that. All right, so I'll slip that one in this pocket and slip this one. Oh, this one's still warm, just laid. I'll slip this one in this pocket. All right, you can, if you get confused easily, you can always put a pencil mark or an X or something on the porcelain eggs so you don't accidentally pick those up and take them out, because they look just like a real egg, but they're solid. Okay, so I'm going to be re-nesting this within the next few days, I guess, because I'm looking to get some more baby chicks, and I'll be needing to clean up all of these places, make sure they're nice and clean. And I've got 2 roosters. So once the roosters get used to seeing the baby chicks, when I finally bring them outside, because I'll have them inside the cabin, keeping warm, because it's still not warm enough for them to be outside, for a few weeks anyway, until they're all feathered in. And then I can move them out into a coop you take them outside, an hour or 2 a day when it's really warm and not windy. Get them used to being outdoors, then bring them back in and things like that, and they'll get used to it. They'll move around. Now the Buff Orpingtons I got from my neighbor last year, they're just very, very personable and friendly hens, and I can grab some greens and come out here and hand feed them. Nellie's a Rhode Island Red, and she knows her name, but she is not as personable as the others. And this is Big Blackie. He's also got some buff in him also. But when I got Brewster over there, all his tail feathers were gone. The person that had him before me, for some reason, liked plucking feathers out of him. But he's grown them back since he's come here, so he's happy. All right, next on the agenda, have a feed door. That's nice. I put a little feed door in here so I don't have to walk inside of there if I've got good shoes on and I'm going to town. If I'm just going to give them some treats, I can just pop that open, feed them, close the door, and it's real simple. Just open it up like this and close it up when I want security. Barbed wire. Okay, you don't really need barbed wire if you're in a residential area, anything like that. I had problems with a big cat getting in here, and the big cat killed all my chickens on the first batch that I had. So I put the barbed wire on here to deter it. Not to kill it or hurt it or anything like that, but just to deter it. I also didn't have a bottom protection. So I changed that and I put the metal protection down here so that well, it's basically out of sight, out of mind. The animal comes up, can't see over it, stays away. The other thing, when you're putting your wire on your run, make sure your run is large enough to let the chickens have a lot of runaround room. They need exercise. And you also want to leave it so that they can get into the dirt and the sand. And they need that. When they're eating, they use the sand to grind up the food that's in their stomach. That's part of their digestion. So you want to have a sandy base if you can. And if you don't have sand in your yard, you could always buy some bags of play sand at Home Depot or something like that, and just spread it out in there. All right. So the other mistake I made, I went with this larger chicken wire. It's got 1-inch openings. You saw just a second ago some of the local birds came over. They can fit right through there. They wipe you out of food. Hand over fist, I mean. They just get in there and they just clean out the food. This is the 3/4-inch size. They can still get through this one. The smaller birds can. Once they fatten up on all the food they're eating, they can't get through it anymore. But still, if I was going to do it again, I would use aviary wire or 1/2-inch hardware cloth. Okay, the hardware cloth is the one with the squares in it, and they're only 1/2-inch by 1/2-inch. That way insects can get through, because the chickens will eat the insects. I watch them in here in the summertime. They chase flies around, but the birds won't be able to get in there and clean out all of your food. It also makes it harder for things like squirrels to get in, because a squirrel can fit through that 1-inch hole, but he can't fit through the 3/4-inch holes, and he can't fit through those little 1/2-inch holes like that down there, the aviary wire. The aviary wire is a little less expensive, but it's not as heavy duty as hardware cloth. So if you have a problem with predators, get the hardware cloth for the extra durability. Okay, now I put a shade cloth up there so they have shade in the summertime. They can also go one place or the other when the sun comes up. Like right now, it's shady in this area. That's why they're all hanging in this area. So those are things to think about. Okay. Also, I'm in the desert. We have aerial predators out here. We have owls, and we have hawks, and we have crows, and we have what's those other ones there? Ravens. Yeah. So they could get in here. Now we also have roadrunners, and I've got roadrunners out here almost as big as these hens. And I've heard that they will fight and kill smaller birds like these sparrows and stuff like that, but they usually stay away from chickens because the chickens are just too big for them. But they might just get into a brawl with a chicken and kill it, not for any other reason but to just dominate it. All right, when you're putting your wire on, dig down as deep as you can. Down here it was hard digging. I went a foot deep down below, and I put the wire all the way down into the ground. Okay, if you're going to do that, one mistake I made was I just went straight down, and that was good enough for me. If you're only going to go down a foot, come out 2 feet and bend a piece of wire in that in an L shape there. So you see this concrete here? You see all the rocks here, the rock tree leaves? Well, that's because critters have been tunneling underneath, and they get through that 1-inch wire even though it's buried in the ground. So you want to make sure you got the smaller wire so they can't get through it, but you also don't want to be able to tunnel underneath it, and they'll go down a foot at least. So if you can go down 18 inches to 2 feet, that's tougher on them. They'll get to the wire and they'll say, hey, there's no way through this, and give up. Or if they start digging further out here and they find wire under the ground a foot down and they try to track along it, they come up to a wall of wire, they can't go any further, and that'll be a deterrent. So those are things to keep in mind. All right, also, sooner or later you'll need an isolation coop. That's what this is. This is an isolation coop. That plywood right there is held up by a chain, and I can release that chain and lower that plywood down and close that run off from this run. So if I have to isolate a hen or a rooster or something like that, I can get them into here, close that down. They have their own yard and they can't intermingle with the others. So you will want an isolation coop. Also, when I finally bring the baby chicks out here, they'll be in here with the door down, and they won't be able to go from one side to the other because they'll be too big to fit through the wiring or anything like that. I may put some of that aviary wire on the bottom where they might be able to stick their heads through because the other hens will attack the babies. Until they get up to be the same size as these hens, they're in trouble if they get into a fight with another hen. All right, because the hens will kill them. They don't care about anybody taking over their area. All right, so that's another thing. Also, a nice tall door for access. I put 2 locks, one top and one bottom. That way, if a dog or a coyote comes over here and tries to pull at the bottom of the door, it's locked top and bottom. They makes it harder for them to get in. And of course, the metal all the way around and the wire underground all the way around. That's what you want. Now this one has a solid roof and this one has a cloth roof. So as it is right now, they get to use both sides if they want. And this side will give them a place to get out of the rain if they want without having to go inside the coop. All right, another thing. Up there above the door going into that coop, that's a thing called Chick Safe. It's an automatic door opener and closer, and it works just by sunlight, and it is very, very good. I am so happy I got that thing. You'll see the light flash every now and then. That's just telling me that the batteries are still good and it's active. It'll wait until probably 20 minutes after the sun sets before it'll start closing. And the chickens have already learned that door is going to close at that time. They're all inside way ahead of that. Okay, and then when the sun comes up in the morning, a half an hour after the sun comes up, that door will open and let the chickens out. That's just a great thing to have. Now they have them with timers on it, and they have them with manual openers on them. And if you want to get one of those, the website you go to buy one is brinsea.com. That's BRINSEA, all one word, brinsea.com. And it's called Chick Safe. They also sell brooders and incubators and everything you need for chickens and goslings and ducklings and whatever you want to do. They've got it all there. Great company, gave me good service. If you have a P.O. box, you might have trouble ordering on there online. Just call the telephone number. The owner was the one that helped me, they get you online, they take your information down, and they will send it to a P.O. box. They just don't normally do that on the online orders, just in case there's fraud going on. So that's the way to go. Also, chicken waterers. Uh-oh. Oh, I think I'm going to have to separate you two roosters. So Brewster was trying to mate with Nellie, and Blackie over here said, no, 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 that's my job. So he went over there and disrupted it. So I'm going to have to separate these two roosters out. They're getting to a point where they're going to fight. All right, anyway, back to chicken coops. All right, I originally put an auto feeder out here, and that white pipe over there was the bottom of it. They used to plug onto it, and it had a metal piece I put inside that would make the grains go both directions in there. And it used to be at the bottom of this pipe inside the coop. Okay, I took that out. Why? Well, the rats would get to it at night, and I made doors to close it over, and the rats chewed right through the side of it to get in. So, you know, big fight. So here they've been tunneling underneath and getting into the coop at night, or into the run at night, and eating food. So I've tried everything. I tried filling them with wire. I tried barbed wire in there. They pulled it out and they just go in anyway. So today I put concrete in them. Dig through that concrete. Let's see you do that. I think only Mighty Mouse can get through that concrete. All right, so that's about it. This was an auto waterer, and don't really need it. I mean, it's nice to have if you're going to go out of town for periods of time. You can put a lot of extra feed in the auto feeder, the auto waterer, and not have to worry about the chickens needing water or feed. You're better off if you have a friendly neighbor that can come by and make sure they have water and feed, because these things are not a good idea. So I just discontinued all of that. I have multiple waterers inside of the coop. I got a hanging one there with the nipples on the bottom. I've got the bucket one there with the little activator troughs on the side, where all they have to do is press on the little yellow thing in the center of that trough and water comes out. Those are great if you want to get bees around, because there's always water in there and the bees will come around and get into the water. So I've got those two waterers there, and they've got legs on them. That keeps ants and bugs out of them. So that's a nice way to go with the ones that have the legs on them. I have another waterer inside. It's only a 1 gallon. And that's so that when they're inside there, if they get thirsty, they don't have to wait till morning to go get a drink of water. They can get it inside there. All right, so that's about all I have. This used to be an electric fence. I had a double wire running around the bottom of this. So if any predators came up and tried to get in the bottom, they'd get a jolt and jump back. Well, I had some wild dog packs try to get in one time, and I could hear them yelping every time they got jolted. And it would recharge almost instantly after jolting them. So it was always charged. But it was a big cat, a mountain lion, a cougar, that came down out of the mountains during the cold winter one time, that tore right through the chicken wire, went inside and killed all of the chickens and ate them. Just left the feathers and wingtips behind. So it wasn't dogs or coyotes, because they would come in and grab one and then leave with it. They would take off. This was something that was big enough and strong enough to kill the whole flock in one shot. And not a good thing. So anyway, any questions you want, feel free to put them down in the comment section below, and I'll answer them for you if I can. All right, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down there. That's very important. All you newcomers that have just recently subscribed, Welcome aboard. This is G Bear signing off.